All right, folks, can we just pump the brakes and stop with the whole narrative that this 13-person committee is the best way to rank college football teams? It's clearly not. I won't even go into the data right now of why I think Team X should be ahead of Team Y. Well, there's clearly differences of opinion in that. Let's just talk about the makeup and overall nature and policy of this committee. First of all, you know that it's 13 people, and they're wildly respected, and the character and integrity of these individuals really is impressive. You got people like Frank Beamer, former football coach Ronnie Lott's on the committee right now. You got some ADs out there. Listen, there's a huge flaw. So one, I've always said that acting athletic directors should never be involved on this committee. Well, and lo and behold, there's a huge conflict of interest that's happening this year, which is messing with the math. Ohio State and Oklahoma are really vying for that fourth spot. Maybe it'll be in a conversation with Alabama after a loss. Maybe it'll be just between those two. But you need to know that the athletic director at Ohio State, Gene Smith, and the athletic director at Oklahoma, Joe Castiglione, are on the committee. Now, the committee's policy in these situations is that you are recused from speaking about the team that you are directly involved with. Okay, so if you have a monetary tie, either yourself or someone in your immediate family, then you are removed from the conversation about that team. So these people step out of the room when the conversation is being had about either Ohio State or Oklahoma. Well, there's a third and maybe even more influential name that is also stepping out of the room. Frank Beamer is also stepping out of the room. Why, you ask? His son, Shane Beamer, is an is an assistant coach with the Oklahoma Sooners. That's a problem. Frank had to step out of the room last year when they were discussing Georgia. Why? Shane Beamer was an assistant coach for the Georgia Bulldogs last year. So now all of a sudden there are three people that are stepping out of the room when these teams are discussed individually. If you take that a step further, did you also know that when those teams are being directly compared, those individuals have to recuse themselves as well? So, let me get this right. When we're actually debating for the fourth spot in the playoff, pretty important, I've been told, 3 of the 13 people have to recuse themselves from the conversation, further diluting the equation and the 13 variables of the equation down to 10? You thought I had a problem with the statistical variance of a 13-variable equation? What do you think I'm going to have a problem with when it comes to a 10-variable equation and its statistical variance? It is wild to think that this is the way that we rank teams in college football. We really think that these individuals are going to do a bang-up job, even in their most ardent attempt. It's going to be difficult for them because 10 people agreeing on anything is going to be very difficult. That's why I've always argued there should be more inputs, either more people on the committee or more committees. Because right now, this is absurd. Absolutely absurd. We charge this committee of 13 with essentially governing and directing our sport. It is the rudder of college football, this committee. It shapes how we schedule in the offseason. It shapes how we view teams. It shapes how we view schedules. It shapes how we view performances throughout the year. And you're telling me that that rudder sometimes is partly missing, other times it's full, and other times this part is missing? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? If everybody's input of the 13-member committee is important, then none of them should ever step out, which is why athletic directors should never be on the committee. This is wild, folks. This is wild that we're in this situation right now. I'm going to say something that's quite unpopular. The only problem with the BCS was the number of teams that it put into the championship game. The BCS equation was far greater than 13 people in a room, in particular when some of them have to recuse themselves. Bring back the BCS equation and just give us the 4 teams that it spits out. I think all of us would much rather that than the charade that is happening right now with these 13 individuals.